Have you ever wondered if you'll ever recover from costly decisions you made early in your life? Wondered if you have to keep repeating the same behaviors and falling into the same holes? Wondered if there's any hope to create the life that you long for? We all know how hard it is to change behavior patterns, certainly after they're well established, but it's not impossible. Hi, I'm Marlena Fiol from Becoming Who We Truly Are, a YouTube channel that deepens our understanding of who we are and also what's possible for us. I've drawn much of what I'm talking about today from my memoir, Nothing Bad Between Us. If my life experiences in any way help you on your journey toward greater wholeness, you'll find a link to the memoir in the show notes below. If you find value in this short video clip, make sure you give it a thumbs up. It makes a big difference. At the end of this brief program, we'll recommend additional materials that will support you in your efforts to create the life you want. Old learning can keep us very stuck. You've probably heard about Pavlov's dog. So Pavlov put food out for the hungry dog, and the dog began salivating. Then he put the food out for the dog, and he rang a bell at the same time, and the dog again salivated when he was confronted with the food and the bell. And eventually, the dog would salivate each time the bell would ring, even when there was no food present. Why do I tell you this story, which is really familiar to all of us? Because we're really all a bit like that dog. We develop habitual and conditioned ways of responding to our environments, and we often keep responding in the same way even after the original stimulus is no longer there. The good news is that we can change those responses to create the life we want. In my younger life, I suffered a good deal of abuse. As I grew older, I experienced loss and separation many times as a result of my own bad decisions. And eventually this led to a sense of complete desperation and despair. Does any of this sound familiar to you? Have you also suffered abuse or felt desperation or despair? Have you searched for ways to become more comfortable with yourself and experience greater inner peace? I know just how fortunate I've been. After a really challenging early life, I've gone on to have a satisfying personal life as well as a highly successful career as a college professor, an author, and consultant. Today I want to share with you a piece of my sometimes torturous early life journey in the hope that I'll inspire each of us to courageously walk through the dark times in our life toward a future of greater brightness and greater optimism. Let's get back to Pavlov's dog. We've all learned behaviors that were rewarded or at least not punished. Let me give you an example of some of my behaviors and rewards from the early years that shaped my life. I grew up on a leprosy station in Paraguay, South America. My Mennonite medical missionary parents were deeply focused on healing bodies and souls. They were very busy people. And I was a horribly rebellious daughter, desperate for their attention, which came to me in pretty small doses. As I've written about in my memoir, my father was a living paradox. He was a devout and selfless pacifist doctor who was working to heal leprosy patients in Paraguay. He was also an angry disciplinarian, often clouded with fury. My behaviors when I was young were desperate and even often very destructive attempts to get his attention, which was the reward that I wanted so very desperately. And my father's response, not surprisingly, was for years to beat me with a wet strap until I was bloody. And when I was 19, finally, he disowned me because of my sinful behaviors. What impact do you suppose these childhood experiences had on my life? I think a more important question might be, does the impact they had on my life depend on what I did with what I was given? Do you sometimes feel like there's no way you can move forward beyond events in your past? Let me tell you a true story. One dark night, when my husband Ed was traveling in southern Georgia, he asked a man for directions to some town he was looking for. And I guess the man gave the question some thought and then looked at Ed and said, "You can't get there from here." And yeah, that's a true story. Have any of you believed that you can't get to where you wish to go from where you are or where you've been? Usually there is a way to get from here to there, even when it seems very unlikely. My memoir describes my bumpy path to where I am today. I just want to emphasize to you that my story is not an angry story about a bad father or an unforgiving church. It is a true story of finding a surprising path to forgiveness, reconciliation, and healing. For those of you who are deeply engaged in your own quest to becoming who you truly are, I just want to say that my path may not be the best one for you. I've shared ways that I've moved toward increasing levels of authentic peace, and it is an ongoing journey. But only you can decide what path best fits your needs. I do hope that parts of my story are useful in stimulating your thinking about choices you've made in the past and choices you continue to make today. In addition, I wish to continue to learn about possibilities for my own life, so I look forward to hearing from you about things that have worked really well for you and also things that might not have worked so well as you're moving toward who you can become. If you found value in this program, please do give it a thumbs up or hit the subscribe button on your screen. It really does matter. Also, please post any comments or questions you might have for me. I will respond promptly. For example, what life choices have worked out especially well for you? Also, just so you know, I'll be posting a new episode of this YouTube show each Tuesday at 6 a.m. Eastern Time. For further thoughts on creating your life, we recommend that you consider the following resources. First, a TED Talk by Bill Burnett on the 5 steps to designing the life you want. Also, a TED Talk by Katarina Blom on the fact that you don't find happiness, you create it. And finally, as I have talked about earlier, for a look at my personal path to creating my life, we recommend my memoir, Nothing Bad Between Us, which was released in 2020 by Mango Publishing. The web addresses for each of these are in the show notes. And remember, we are together on this journey.